Although Latin American history is drastically underrepresented in the media, there has been plenty of significant setbacks and achievements in the struggle for Latin American rights from 1950 to 2022. In 1954, Operation Wetback, the largest deportation in U.S. history, occurred. Over 1.3 million people were deported brutally. Some were even American citizens. In Texas, over 25% of immigrants were crammed onto boats often compared to slave ships, and many died along the way. People who avoided getting deported faced their own struggles as well. In order to help their local community, a Chicago street gang formed the Young Lords organization, modeled after the Black Panther organization. Similarly, they offered neighborhood free breakfast programs and health clinics. In 1974 and 75, the Southwest Voter Registration Organization Project registered 2 million Latino voters in the first 20 years, and the 1975 Voting Rights Act was passed, which was an act aimed to aid Latinos and Asians. It expanded language assistance in polling stations, as many could not meet the English literacy requirement for voting. This notably increased Latino political representation.
In 1986, the Immigration Reform and Control Act was started by Senator Alan Simpson, and it was passed by the Senate. It made it illegal for any company to hire or recruit anyone who isn't legally allowed to work in the U.S. It also made it unlawful for someone to use forged admission or employment documents. Continuing on, a few years later, from 1994 to 1995, the fight over California's Prop 187, also known as SOS Save Our State, was a 1994 ballot proposal in California that established a state-run citizenship verification system, and it also made it illegal for undocumented immigrants to use non-emergency health care, public education, and other services, and the majority of voters were approving of this measure. As time went on, in 1997, a U.S. District Court judge overturns the California's Proposition 187, ruling it unconstitutional. The ruling declared that California is powerless to enact its own legislative scheme to regulate immigration. It is likewise powerless to enact its own legislative scheme to regulate alien access to public benefits.
The first Hispanic Supreme Court Justice, Sonia Sotomayor, was sworn in by Chief Justice John Roberts on August 8, 2009. This finally gave Latinos, one of the biggest minorities of this country, a voice to represent themselves in the judicial system. In April of 2010, Arizona's Governor Jan Brewer signed one of the toughest anti-immigration laws in U.S. history, Senate Bill 1070. This legislation invited racial profiling by allowing police to investigate someone's immigration status if they suspect someone to be undocumented, charged immigrants who didn't carry federal registration papers to be guilty of a state crime, and more. This heavily impacted Latinos because 37% of Latinos in Arizona were immigrants at the time. Also in 2010, Governor Jan Brewer signed a law banning Mexican American studies in the Tucson Unified School District in Arizona. This led to many Latino Americans, especially students, to feel threatened because they were not allowed to learn about their own history in classrooms. However, in 2017, a federal court later ruled that the 2010 ban violated students' constitutional rights. Nowadays, the program is larger than it's ever been before.